One of the things that I found I do really well in stories is I play a lot of characters who are outliers. For one reason or another, they don't belong. The nice thing, though, is I've had a lot of people approach me and talk to me about how seeing that expressed in a character that I've played has made them feel less alone, you know what I mean? And also kind of like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels this way. The first Star Wars character I ever got to play, like in the legit Star Wars universe, was Varco Gray in Star Wars Squadrons.
What was your reaction to that death scene?
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the ever phenomenal, the iconic and incredible Noshir Dalal, my guy. It's so good to see you again in person. Yes.
Do the best, dude. Do the best.
Yes. Oh man. So, oh God, this is a long time coming. So I want to interview him for so long, but life happens. You make a banner for someone, and now you're all the best friends forever.
But 2 banners for someone.
Yes. My first question is a little icebreakers. Like, how familiar are you with like Atlanta and the South, and what do you love about just like being in Atlanta?
So I'm actually local to Atlanta now. My wife and I were in LA because that's where all of my performance capture for video game work happens. And then COVID hit. And everything kind of stopped. We weren't sure when we'd be going back to work, and we were like, why are we paying $3,500 a month for an apartment that, So we came out here just to see what it was like, and I think because my wife's from Chicago, I'm from New York, I'd forgotten how amazing it is to have seasons. And Georgia's beautiful for that, you know what I mean? Like fall leaves and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we ended up like looking at houses and getting a house. So now we have a lot to explore. We're still kind of new to Atlanta, but it's been great, and the people here have been lovely. My wife is South Indian. I'm half Japanese and half Indian. So I wasn't sure when we were coming to Atlanta, like, what kind of reception we would get, because you hear all kinds of stories, and parts of the state can be not the best for folks who aren't white. I've yet to have like a bad encounter with someone. It's been really awesome. So I'm loving it so far.
I love to hear that. I completely agree on that. You hear such horror stories about the South a lot of the time, so you never know quite what you're getting into. Yeah. But like you said, it's very nice, it's very diverse. Depends on the area.
Yeah, stories, but the nice thing is, like, also they'll let you know right away. You know what I mean? So it's not like anyone's taking you by surprise. So and it's just like, oh, okay, I know your deal, and I'm not gonna talk to you, and that's fine. That's fine.
100%. Well, to get into it a little bit, I want to talk about. You mentioned that you're half Japanese, half Indian. So I want to talk about that because that's a beautiful cultural crock pot you got there. How important is your cultural heritage and integral is it in the many characters that you've had the honor to play over the years?
Wow, that's a hard question. Well, I think, obviously I'm just kind of speaking from my limited understanding, but one of the things that I found I do really well in stories is I play a lot of characters who kind of are outliers. For one reason or another, they don't belong. And I think I identify that with that really well. Being half Japanese and half Indian meant like Japanese folks don't consider me Japanese, Indian folks don't consider me Indian, white folks don't, I'm definitely not white. So where does that leave you, And I think that's had a big impact on who I am and kind of always feeling like I never belonged wherever I was, And I guess that comes across in my characters. And the nice thing, though, is I've had a lot of people approach me and talk to me about how seeing that expressed in a character that I've played has made them feel less alone, you know what I mean? And also kind of like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels this way. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what storytelling is about, right? We're trying to share an experience and let people know, like, you're not alone in this. Even when it feels like you are all by yourself, there's someone out there who, it's never going to be the same, but their journey is similar, you know what I mean? So it's something that I think I really struggled with when I was younger, and now I have to kind of embrace it as my greatest strength. So.
Ooh, my God, I completely agree with you there. Like, as someone who's, Black and Puerto Rican, it's always an interesting dynamic there to figure out kind of where you belong and what cultures you take from, because like I also have like two very diverse and beautiful cultures that I can take inspiration from. So actors always tell me that the more life experience, the better to play a lot of these robust characters. So I guess we kind of have a little bit of a cheat code there. But man, let's get into some of these characters. Star Wars is like, iconic. Everyone knows it. You played two phenomenal characters in there, Bode Akuna and Rampart. I want to start with Rampart because that Rampart became before Bode, or was it? Because I know gaming takes a while, so how did that kind of go?
Yeah, timeline-wise, the first Star Wars character I ever got to play, like in the legit Star Wars universe, was Varco Gray in Star Wars Squadrons. And I had never had to do, I was new to voiceover and all that other stuff, so I had never had to do an English accent. So I coached for that, and then shortly afterwards got an audition for this other Imperial character in a Star Wars universe, and that ended up being Rampart, and that kind of like was... So Varco Gray really kind of paved the way for me to have success with Rampart, and I kind of, I don't know, I'm grateful for the way that works, you know. And then I did Rampart for the Bad Batch for several years. As Rampart was coming to a close, I think was when I first auditioned for Bode. And so like kind of as Rampart's season was ending, Bode was kind of coming into being, so.
What was your reaction to that death scene?
Oh, Rampart's?
Yeah.
Good. A lot of people, you know, were like, oh, we were wondering, because in season 3, Rampart really kind of chokes on humble pie, you know what I mean? And has some really comedic moments as a result, which I think really humanized him with the audience. And a lot of people started really kind of being endeared to Rampart, which is super cool. But as a result, a lot of folks thought that there was going to be like possibly some sort of a redemption, like he was going to come around. And it, like, no, Rampart doesn't come around. Because Rampart is loyal to only one person, Rampart. And I think one of the things that for me was really important is like, there's a social story that's being told here, right? And for me, Rampart is an example of one of the most dangerous types of people in our actual world today, which is a bureaucrat who has power and only wants to further themselves, who doesn't want to use it for the greater good, and is willing to step on anyone and everything in order to get further in life. And I'm glad that Rampart was unrepentant, and as a result suffered the appropriate consequences, you know? It has to happen.
100%. Well, a character that's kind of more conflicted in the same universe as Bode.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta tell you, I literally hated your character because I could not beat him.
Yeah.
It was that bad. I sent you a video, I was like,
He's dead.
I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
I literally, but Bode is a phenomenal character. What is it like as a performer to get the opportunity to get to show that sort of duality when it comes to characters like that?
It feels like every character that I've worked on has in some way come across in my career at a time when I didn't necessarily know it, but I needed to work on something in my life. So Bode actually came at a time when I really needed to wrestle with the identity of being a father, right? And like all that entails, and how far are you willing to go? And how far is too far, right? And I think for Bode, it's also, I mean, I grew up on Star Wars. One of my earliest memories is being like really, really little in a movie theater and watching like the AT-AT storm off, right? And like my brain just like exploded. But all those children who watch those movies have grown up. We're adults now, and we know like the good guys don't shoot green or red lasers, and the bad guys don't shoot green lasers. Like the world is shades of gray, and so characters like Bode, I think, bring Star Wars into a new generation where all those children who grew up are understanding like the world is complicated, and like there's not such a thing as like just good or just bad. There are a lot of good people out there who make terrible decisions because they think they're doing the right thing. And I think that's where my heart really breaks for Bode, because if I really commit to the idea that like that my daughter is everything and that I will do anything to keep her safe, I will do anything to keep her safe, including hurting other people. And that at the end of the day is what Bode feels is necessary. And while I wish things went a different way for him, I can't fault him for his decisions. You know?
Right.
And that breaks my heart, because I know he wishes things were different.
I completely agree. last two, and I'm gonna get you up out of here. Mysterio in Spider-Man 2. You worked a lot with them, the Insomniac crew, and have done a lot of work for them.
Yeah.
So how was it to get the call that you'd be playing like a really prominent character such as Mysterio?
I mean, it was super cool. I've done a lot of mocap for the Spider-Man universe and working with the Insomniac folks, and I love those guys. what I loved is they gave me an opportunity to play a character that was such a departure from all the stuff I normally do. He's not an action guy. He's not like a tough dude. He's actually a guy trying to be better and facing a world that's like really reluctant to allow him to grow, you know? And I was actually once again facing a moment in my life where like I was trying to grow and people in my life who were close to me were refusing to allow me the space to be a better person. I love Quentin Beck's journey because he's not the villain you expect in a Spider-Man game. And it's a really humanizing story. His speech at the end about, you know, Mysterio will always be the villain, the same way Spider-Man will always be the hero, is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to say, you know? And I love that.
Damn. If you had one word to describe your career and where you hope to see it moving forward, what word would you use?
I have no hopes for my career. I just want to be present. And I'll go wherever that journey goes. I'll ride that wave, you know what I mean? So I don't know how to encapsulate that in one word. Submission. I'll submit to whatever the world and fate offers me in the moment, and I'll enjoy it every moment of every day.
Y'all hear him, ladies and gentlemen? That was the phenomenal Noshir Dalal. If you get to see him at a con, please be sure stop by. Look at my amazing banner I made for him, both of them. I'm so proud of this man. Thank you so much for what you've given to the world, not only entertainment, but your friendliness and your humbleness to everyone you meet. We're grateful as fans and as people, and we thank you. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you.
I love your passion for this, dude. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Y'all, ladies and gentlemen, peace, love, safety, and I will see y'all next time.